Hi guys, this is Vivek from ProCoach, and I welcome you to another new video on the day 2 of 30 days of Flutter. So yesterday we learned what was Flutter and how we can install it and few more things about it. And as I promised, today we will learn some more about the basics of Flutter. For example, the Decrement Counter application. We will see how we can run that application on our device and some more thing by our today's expert, Mr. Dhrumil Shah. So give me. So I am very much excited to bring Dhrumil Shah on this platform. So Dhrumil, welcome to the Pro Coach, and yeah, the stage is yours.
Yeah, thank you so much, Vivek. It was pleasure having at the ProCoach YouTube channel. Thank you so much for the invitation. I'm just looking
Thank you
forward
so much.
to yeah, I'm just looking forward to answer some of the questions which has been asked yesterday, which you have listed down, and then we will start. So yeah, you can just proceed with that, and then I will be take over later then.
Okay, and there is a surprise for you. In the end, there is my friend Piyush who will join us to ask you more questions on the topics of Flutter. So let's
Sure.
start with the project. So as I promised, we are going to create the great counter example, and we will start with that. Okay. And guys, this is M1 laptop and it lacks for Flutter. So if you're thinking to buy M1 laptop, please do consider this thing. And this time we are creating a new Flutter project, and it will give us the great counter example application. It will open us for us, and then we will try to configure our project. And yes,
Also, I guess for the M1 based MacBook, the Android Studio is still not ready yet, right? And that's why you are using the beta
no,
version.
yes. So I can show you that
Mhm.
right now. Wait. So you can see all these problems which are occurring. So right now I have two Android Studio versions, and both are not suitable for actually working on it. So they both are very laggy. So this is
Okay,
our
so
great counter example. So do you want me to open the simulator and put on the screen?
yes. I mean, also, before we starting, let's just help the viewers and the participants to know that if they are planning to buy the M1 laptop, so what are the IDEs which are the fully supported. So I guess the VS Code is been supported like properly for the M1 based support based MacBook Pro, and for the Android Studio, they need to download which version which you are using. Can you just show them which
Yeah.
version is supported properly
So it is
for the
Android
Android
Studio
Studio?
and 4.2 preview. This one.
Okay, it's like
Yeah.
4.2 preview version. So that if you
Yes.
guys are planning to run the Flutter, and if you bought your MacBook Pro, which is M1 based, just do consider this, that you will download the preview version of the Android Studio, so that you will not find any major difficulties to run the Flutter in your Android Studio. So
Yeah.
I hope you have yesterday attended the official streaming from the Flutter community team of the first day of 30 days of Flutter, and you
Yes.
might have installed. Awesome. So you might have installed your setup environment, and you might have set up everything. So what we'll do today is we will simply create one with Flutter, and Flutter provides the first Hello World application as in the counter app, which Vivek just created one, and we will go through one by one of each and everything. So first we will see that what are the different files and the folders has been created by the Flutter itself. So when you create your Flutter project, as you can see on the screen, there are this kind of folders available. Now just to mention you here, we are using the Flutter stable channel. So that's why the Flutter stable channel supports Android and iOS, which is only the mobile platform. If you are planning to build a Flutter app for web and desktop, you have to change your Flutter branch, or maybe you can say as a channel. So right now we are running on the Flutter stable channel. So here you can see on terminal. See, there are like 4 channels available: master, dev, beta, and stable. And the stable channel is preceding with the star. So that means currently we are using the stable channel. Okay. So in the stable channel, we have right now the support for the only for mobile, but both the OSs, which is Android and iOS. So on the left-hand side in the screen, in the Project Explorer, we can see like there are a couple of folders, which is like dot tools, idea, Android, iOS, lib, and test. Okay. And then there are some other supported files. Yeah, can you just please close the expansion of the folder, Vivek? Yeah, thank you. Cool. So here now we'll go through one by one that what exactly each folder or each file do. So first, like this dot tools are a supported. I mean, it is a folder which uses the package config.json. Now this file is used to link your downloaded your Dart file, or maybe your libraries where you have put it everything. So this is for the configuration which you do not need to worry about it, and you can simply ignore that particular folder. Also, .idea folder is also generated by the system for their own purposes, where there are again a lot of different folders and files, which is like misc.xml, modules XML, run configuration XML, workspace XML, and there are their inbuilt library and then git ignore files. So this is also is not required as in developer for sake of now. Whenever in the future we will need this folder, we will share the more details over there. Let's just focus for the hello world, and then let's just move to the next folder, which is Android and iOS. Now these two folders are kind of bit important folder for us. So as in the Flutter, so Flutter application actually sits on the Android and iOS layer. So for example, if we are running a Flutter application on the Android device, so basically Android native application runs, and on top of that the Flutter application sits. So it looks like you are running a Flutter application, but behind the scenes it is actually running a native Android app. So that's why whatever the code is required to run or develop native Android application, that is available in the Android folder. And the same thing for the iOS folder. If we expand this iOS folder, and Vivek, can you please expand the iOS folder, please? Thank you. In the iOS folder, we can see there are again, iOS project specific folders, which is like runner.xcode proj or runner.xc workspace. So again, if we are running our Flutter application on iOS platform, so basically it actually runs the native iOS platform, and on top of that, the Flutter application sits. So if we go and check the Flutter architecture on the web, Vivek, can you just Google search like a Flutter architecture?
Yeah.
An image.
This one? Yeah.
Yes. Awesome. So as we can see here, this is a Flutter architecture, that how exactly the Flutter SDK is built. So here the whole architecture is divided into the three major parts, which is the framework, second is the engine, and third is the embedder. So the framework, the whole Flutter framework is written on the Dart language, and whatever things that we are going to use to build Flutter application, we can see the Dart code there. So this material, Cupertino widgets, rendering, animation, painting, gestures, and foundation are the different layers, and it is written in the Dart. So how this works basically? So whenever we write our Flutter code and we require any tool or any widget, as in Flutter, everything known as in widget. So those widgets lies into any one of this library, which is a material or maybe Cupertino, or maybe it is maybe inside the second layer, which is the widgets, where you don't want to inherit any ready-made widget from the material or Cupertino, but you just want to inherit from the core widgets and you want to build your own widgets. Then the third part is the rendering. So how exactly this rendering works is, whatever the widgets that you have written or you have created, the rendering part of that particular widgets, that how it is going to be rendered on the screen, it is managed by this rendering portion of the framework. Now, in the rendering, before rendering, there is the another layer which is called animation, painting, and gesture. So if you have written something code for the animation, or something that how exactly your code will be got painted on the screen, and if you double click, or like pinch to zoom, so all these things will be handled by this the fourth layer. And then last is the foundation, where it actually supports with the bottom layer, which is the engine, and it will do the communication between framework and with the engine layer. In the engine layer, the engine layer itself is written in a C and C++, which actually take care of some native part. For example, if we want to use some device specific stuff, so those platform channels stuff, so device specific stuff. If we want to lay out the screen and how internally that has been used, the rendering portion in the top, how that rendering portion actually calculates the heights and widths, the length, and the sizes. So that all the things is been supported by the engine layer. And then this foundation layer will help to communicate between framework and the engine layer. And the last embedded layer is to actually help the Flutter framework to communicate with the native OS. So for example, if we are running our application on Android and iOS, so that's how the whole the Flutter framework has been the developed. So it's like your native layer on top of that is a Flutter. So whatever things you write or you do on the Flutter, it's been taken care by the Flutter. So you don't need to worry about that how this actually things works, and whether there will be extra overload for the any frameworks or maybe on any native platform or not, because everything will be taken care by that Flutter framework itself. And that's why Flutter is that much more like it feels like more fast, and it feels more like optimized as in the cross-platform framework compared to others. So that's how it works. So let me know if you have any doubt in understanding this, a kind of a core concept of how basically the Flutter has been built. This is just a bird eye view. This is not that much in detail, but I hope this will help you to understand this. Okay, let's just go back to our code, and then I will relate this thing with the code as well. Awesome. So now that's why there is an Android and iOS folder. So whatever code we will write in Flutter, that will reside into the lib folder, which is next to the Android and iOS folder. If we expand the lib folder, you can see there is a one file called main.dart, and on the right hand side we can see the main.dart file is already open. Okay, so whatever the code that we are going to write to build a Flutter app, that whole code resides in the lib folder. And the last folder is the test folder. So as in the software developer, we know that whatever things that we write, we can test this using the like testing methodology, which is called unit test, integration test, and there are some couple of tests are available. I'm just forgetting the names. And so it's like this, all the test cases or all the test related stuff, we can put it inside the test folder. And then there are like git ignore file, .meta file, .package file. Git ignore file is very important if you are using your code and pushing your code into like remote repository. You can mention that hey, you can ignore this file, and which doesn't require to push on the GitHub, because some of the files that system generate automatically, which you do not need to push on the GitHub or GitLab or Bitbucket, whatever the repository you are using to manage your code. And then there is a most important file which is called pubspec.yml. Vivek, can you just open that pubspec.yml? Thank you. Yeah, so this pubspec.yml file is the a kind of like your whole skeleton, or can be, if we talk about in in Indian language. So this is actually a kind of a kundli of the whole project, which will tell everything about your project, that what is happening, or maybe what's the name of your project, what is the description of your project, when it has been published to, and which version of your project currently is, what environment it is being used, if we go one by one, we can see that the name, description, published to, version, environment. And if we scroll down a bit after the environment, we can see there are another portion which is called dependency, the developer dependency. So dependency means if we are using any third-party libraries, we can inform the Flutter framework that, hey, I want to use this library. Can you just fetch it for me? So we just need to mention the name and the version here, and it will be taken care by the Flutter framework. Next is a developer dependency. This developer dependency is almost similar like a dependency, but it's like this developer dependency will not get pushed into your released build. So for example, some of the things you required while the development, for example, like you need to do some code generation. So that code generation will be inside the developer dependency, which is not required inside your main published APK. So that we can put into the developer dependency. And if we go down a bit more, yeah. So here now, if we want to use any extra third-party images, assets, or anything, we can declare those things here, where you can see that assets is already been, as in the commented out. We can, just decomment it, and we can write whatever the images or the fonts or any other extra assets we are using it, and we will be, putting here inside the pubspec.yml. Can we just scroll down to the end and we can see what are the remaining things? Yeah, that's it. So this is like your as it has been already been running into your banner that Pubspec is like a kundli for the Flutter project, and we can find everything about it, that what are the things are being used in this project. So right now, as this is just a basic Flutter app, basic counter app. So we are not using any third-party library. We are just going to understand that what has been written already, and then we will go to some more technical details inside it. Yes, so here we go. So as we just discussed, so the Flutter application start with the main.dart. In main.dart, again, we have main method. So those who are familiar with the programming background, we know that every programming execution start with the main method. So the same thing follows here in the Flutter as well. So in the main, there is a one method called run app. So this run app method accepts a widget. If we go to the run app, and we can see that what kind of things it accepts. If we go to the definition of the run app, yeah, we can see it accepts a widget as an app. So that means in the Flutter, whatever things you write, you can run it as in the app. Even the whole application itself, just a widget, right? So that's why you might have heard that Flutter is all about widgets, widgets, widgets. And here we can see exactly that it actually is a widget. So if we go back to our main.dart, and we can see that here the my app object has been created in the line number 4 in the run app. Okay, can you just please deselect this, Vivek? Yeah, thank you. So in the line number 4, we can see the run app method accepts the my app object. So here, actually, whenever we create any object, we always write with the new keyword, like new space and the class name and the curly bracket. But in the Dart, the new keyword is optional. So Dart is quite so Dart compiler is quite smart. They understand, okay, if you require to create a new object, it will create automatically, and you don't need to define it with the new keyword. Okay, so this my app object has been created. So let's see how this my app class has been written. If we scroll a bit, and if we remove these comments, that will be, I guess, more helpful. Okay, cool. So here it has been created one stateless widget, and the name is the my class. So in programming, if you want to create anything, you just need to extend that ready-made thing. If you are using a Java and you want to create an applet, you just extend with the applet. So same thing follows here as well. If you want to create a stateless widget, you will simply create a class and extend the stateless widget. Now, stateless widget is a ready-made widget provided by the Flutter framework, and it has one method called build, and build method is responsible for creating your UI, whatever you are writing inside that, and it will be displayed on the screen. Okay, so that's why you have to override the build method, and this build method gives you a context. So context is okay. So Vivek, can you just help me to understand what do you mean by the context?
Okay.
What do you think?
So what I think context is context tells me what is the state of my what is the state of my widget is, who is their parents, and where exactly it is placed in the widget tree. Am I right?
Yes. You are right. So if we make it more simple, so the context is like at a particular time, what is the current position or what is the current value of that particular widget is we can say a context. So for example, right now the context is you are sitting at your home, I'm sitting at my home, and we are just helping the people to understand the basics of the Flutter. So this is the current context. And if we talk about the context of the my application, so here so right now there is no parent widget. So it is like the first widget, which is the my app. So the context of that my app is being passed to the build method. And in the build method, it is written with the material app, which is again a ready-made widget provided by the Flutter. And that material app have like 3 parameters. I mean, it has multiple parameters, but we are using the 3 parameters, which is like the title, theme. Yeah, so here we can see there are like a lot of parameter, and we can ignore it for now, and we will cover it by one whenever it will require. So right now we have used like 3 parameters, which is like title, theme, and the home. So title will help you to understand your app title. It's not the app name. Just please mind this, and please take a note of it. This title exactly used whenever you are switching the apps in between, and then it will be shown somewhere on the top of the app based on your device which you are using. So the title is used for that. Theme is like the global theme that we are going to use throughout the application. So in the theme, there is again a ready-made widget called theme data, and where we are using the 2 parameters, which is called primary swash and the visual density. So primary swash is like throughout the application, if you use any widget or any controller, the basic theme of it will be with the color blue. So if you like create a top bar or maybe button or anything, the by default color will be the blue. So this will help us to make our app more beautiful and more easy to develop. The next is the visual density. So visual density is again another parameter which, and here we have used the adaptive platform density. So that means whatever the platform that we are going to use, it will take the visual density from it, and it will be drawn on the screen based on that. So we don't have to worry about whether it is running on Android or iOS. Based on that, it will take the visual density. Whether your phone is like too big or too small, it would be taken care of. And the third parameter is like the home parameter, where exactly the material app is putting your first widget as in the home page. So here we have created the object of my home page, and we are passing the title. So that now let's see what exactly the my home page is. If we scroll down a bit, we can see there is a home page, and it extends to the stateful widget. So let's just first delete all the comments from the whole code. Okay. Thank you so much, Vivek, for doing this all. So let's go back to the my homepage. Yes. So here in the my homepage, this my homepage is actually extending the stateful widget, and on the top, the my app actually extending the stateless widget. So you might have heard about the stateless and stateful widget yesterday in the stream, and if you have doubt, you can post it in the comments. And otherwise, I will just keep going on with my explanation. So as we already discussed in the stateless widget, there is only one method that we are overriding, which is the build method. Now here in the stateful widget, what happens? So stateful widget actually create another class, which is called a state class. And then we have to actually inherit the state class of that particular widget. So in the below, the line number 31, as we can see, we have created another class called my homepage state, which extend a state, and we are passing the data type as in the my homepage. So here what we are doing at the line number 31 is we are actually creating the state, which is the type of my homepage, and that name of this particular class is my homepage state. Now you might have your question that why there is underscore before the class name. So in a Dart, if you want to declare anything as in the private, you just need to pre-fill or maybe prefix it with the underscore. So the class that we are creating as in the state class, that is the private class, so that this class is not going to be accessed outside of this particular main.dart. So that's why it has been marked with the underscore. And in the stateful widget, on the line number 23, we are actually creating a one constructor. So that my homepage has a constructor, and which gives the two parameter. One is the key, and second is the title. And that title is already declared in the line number 25. So for this class, we are accepting the title from the outside, and then whatever the key that we are receiving, we are just passing it to this our superclass, which is the stateful widget. So the line number 23 actually help us to build a one widget where we can pass key and title, where the key is being again passed to the superclass, and title we are going to use it in this class. Now you might have noticed that in the constructor there are curly brackets as well, like the small brackets, my homepage starting small bracket and then starting curly bracket. Now this curly bracket actually help us to make these parameters of this constructor as in the optional and the named. So if we go up on the line number 15 or 16, we can see here that on the home page, when we are passing a title, we are actually giving the parameter name is the title colon, and then we are passing our string. And also we are not passing the parameter key. The reason is, as we have already mentioned here in the declaration of the constructor with the curly brackets, so we can actually avoid that parameter, which is not required. So that's why in the Dart or in the Flutter, whenever you want to or maybe whenever you are come across this kind of situation where you have multiple parameters which are not required at any point of time, you can create as in or you can wrap it with the curly bracket, and that will make the every whatever the parameters that you have wrapped inside your curly bracket, that becomes the optional parameter. If you want to make it like required but name parameter, we just simply need to add it at the rate required. For example, if we go to line number 23, and we will just simply write at the rate required before this dot title, as we want to give the title as in the required. So now here, if we remove this title from line number 17, the compiler will give us an error that, hey, a required parameter is missing. If we save it, oh, I guess the app is not running, that's why it has not been built yet. Yeah, so here it is giving the error, the parameter title is required. All right, so that's how you can do it with the optional name parameters. You can make some of the parameters as required as well. Okay, can we just like Control Z the things? Okay, thanks. So this is how you can actually create a constructor and declare your class variable. Now let's go to the state class. So to create the object of the state class, sorry, can you just please go up a bit on line number 27 or 28? Yes, thank you. So here on the stateful widget, there is in the stateful widget there is one method called create state that we need to override it, which actually create a state of a state class. So here we are creating an object, my homepage state, and we are providing that object to the create state method. and how we have created the home page state that will show in the below this from the line number 31. So here the whole magic happens. Now in the Flutter, especially, so in the Flutter there are like 3 trees are being mentioned or been maintained by the Flutter framework. One is your main widget tree, second is your element tree, and third is your object tree. So whenever you build any widget, these 3 trees are being created. Now, why these 3 trees are there and what's the purpose of it? So whenever we write any widget, it will create a widget of it, and the widget tree has been created. So here we have created like the material app. In the material app, we have my app, right? I hope you can see this. Okay. In the material app, we have my app. In the my app, we have my homepage, right? So this is how a tree is been created one by one. And on the my app, again, now we are going to create some other things inside it. So this particular tree is my widget tree. Now, whatever the elements or whatever the widgets that we have created, it again creates a copy of it, which is called elements. So here in the my home page, if we go to the build method of it, which is line number 41, here we can see the whole code has been written, and let's go one by one. So here the first widget is scaffold widget. If you are aware of the word scaffold, scaffold means kind of a structure. So the Flutter framework is built in such a way that any layman or any normal person who are quite interested in building the products or building the mobile apps, he can or he or she can easily jump on it. So this is just like simply you are dictating something to someone, and you just need to write it that way, and the app will be get created. So now what we'll do is in the build method, we will create a one widget called scaffold. Now in the scaffold provides multiple parameters. The first is the app bar. So in the application, we need an app bar. So before we go to the code, let's just first run the application. Let's see what exactly it looks like, so that it will help us to understand better how it will be shown. Meanwhile, the app runs. Vivek, can we just take a question if anyone have asked in the chat?
So there is 2 questions right now. The first question was from the Dhruva
Okay.
Shastri. So hey Dhrumil, can you please explain about object, widget, and widgets render trees working with their differences?
Sure. I'll just discuss this thing while I'm going to explain this about the stateful widget and this counter application.
Okay.
Yeah, just stay tuned, Dhruva, for the explanation.
Yeah, and we have another question from Varun Kumar.
Okay.
Hey, is null safety Dart code is production ready? I mean, is it advisable to migrate to null safety now? What are its pros and cons?
So Varun, right now, officially the Dart code, it looks like a production ready, but still there are there might be some bits and pieces or maybe some small bugs. That's why it is still into the beta. So once it is been available in the stable channel, I will suggest you to go for the null safety for your own project. But if you think that you are quite experienced in the programming and you understand this null safety very well, and if you have kind of good experience with your previous work, then there won't be any harm for you to migrate to the null safety. I mean, right now we at a high level we are not being migrated towards the null safety because we have some legacy code and we think that it might create some problem. So yeah, so it's totally on you based. I mean, your decision. People are using null safety on their projects. I myself have used null safety on my some side projects apart from my work, and on my work we don't want to take risks, so we are just avoiding it, and we are just waiting for it whenever it will be launched as in the production. I hope I answered your question, Varun.
Okay, so
Cool.
we don't have questions yet, so we can proceed with the application.
Awesome. So here, as we can see, the application which is running on the iOS simulator, here we have the title on the top, which says Flutter Demo Homepage. And then on the center, we have a text which says you have pushed the button this many times, and the value is 0. And then there is a button, round button with the plus icon on the bottom right corner. Sorry. Okay. So if you press the button, what happens? Okay. So if you press a button for a one time, it actually incremented a counter. Can we just press it like 5 times? Okay. It actually works like this. Okay. And what if we just keep pressing it rather than clicking, just keep pressing it? It does nothing, right? It just says the increment. Cool. Okay. So I hope you have observed this behavior. Now let's just understand how exactly this has been developed or this has been written in the code. So the whole application, which we can see on this iOS simulator screen, this is been rendered using the build method, which is already available in the My app, not in my home. So in the My app, there is my like material app. So that's why you can see the look and feel is almost like a Android application, even though we are running on the iOS simulator, because we are using the material app. In the theme, we have used the blue, and that's why we can see that everything is colored blue. Like on the top bar and the right side bottom button is also blue. The adaptive platform density is also, we can see that it is like properly managed. The center, top, the fonts are like properly been sized according to the theme. And if you go down on the My homepage, which is the main code where the whole app is been structured in the scaffold. If we scroll down a bit, and here we can see the scaffold where we have used the app bar. So in the top, we can see the Flutter demo homepage is written on the application. That particular text is been written in the constructor, and we are passing the text via constructor. And to use the constructor from our widget, because right now our build method is inside the state class. So this state class doesn't have constructor, or and we haven't written any constructor here. And the text which has been passing, it is get passed into its widget class, not in the state class. So that's why if we want to use any memory variable of our widget class of a stateful widget, we will use it as a widget dot the member variable name. So that's why here it has been written as a widget dot title in the app bar. So if we change anything, it will be get changed here as well. But we are not going to change anything right now. First, we will understand how it been written. Now the app bar has been written and it has been developed, and we can see on the screen. Next is the body. So whatever the things apart from the app bar which we can see throughout the screen, it is the body. Now in the body we have written is like the center. So we are telling the Flutter that, hey, I want to put everything under the center. Now what we want to put the center of the screen. So center of the screen is like the column widget. So column, if you understand the column is like the vertical orientation. So if you want to put something like one by one in a vertical manner, we will use it the column. So now we have the column. Now we have put a one text, there is another text. So that's why we are using the column. So in the column, there are the children. The one children that we have already written is like you have pushed the button this many times, and that is already there. And the next is the text, which is actually using your $_counter. Now, what is this $_counter that we will see in a quite a minute? And then we have given some style of it, which is like theme.of context, text theme, headline 4. Now, this is something, like this looks like something new to everyone, right? So what is this theme.of context? So we already discussed the context. The context is the current context that right now, the particular memory or particular widget tree or whatever that we are currently seeing. That's the particular current context. Now here we are telling Flutter that, hey, Flutter, use this context and get the theme around this context. So now this context variable, it is actually being accessed by the context which is written on the line number 41. And this build method is inside the state of a stateful widget. Okay, so now what it is doing is it is actually taking the theme of this concept. And now this context is a part of the material app because we are residing into the material app. So the theme of context, the theme of context is actually taking the theme of a material app. From the material app, we are taking a variable called text theme. And from the text theme, there is already a constant which is called headline 4. So we are directly using our parent class headline 4 theme directly here. So the theme.of context is actually accessing our the parent class context, or sorry, the parent class theme. And from that theme, we are getting the value of the headline 4. And this particular thing, the theme of context and this particular kind of syntax is actually known as kind of inherited widget. So we are actually accessing our parents class data like this way as well. So we don't know that what is the parent class and what is the top layer of it. We can actually access is like the theme.of, or maybe you might have, yeah, thank you, Shivam, for appreciating. And so yeah, so sorry for getting distracted. So yeah, Vivek, just please don't do this. Okay, so this theme.of context is actually kind of a concept of the inherited widget. So if you want to access something from the upper layer, or maybe the parent class, and you don't know what exactly the parent class and where it has been written, so you can just simply write in this syntax, and you will be able to get the data from that if it is available. So and on the screen we can see there is a one button on the bottom right. So that particular button is known as the floating action button. So it is already floating around. So yeah, so that's why it's named as a floating action button. And here there is a 3 parameter: on press, tooltip, and the child. So on press, accepts a one callback or a one method. Here the increment counter method has been written. We will see how it has been written. The next is the tooltip, which is the increment. So this tooltip is actually for the accessibility. So as we have seen that if we long press that floating action button, we can see the increment text. So that text is coming from the tooltip. Yeah, yes, this one. So this particular text is coming from the tooltip. And the plus icon that we can see in the floating action button, it is the child of the floating action button. So here we have written like icons.add. So that's how the UI it looks like. Now, so now the main point here, how the plus button, clicking on the plus button, this number is getting incremented. So let's just see what is the code has been written in the increment counter. So in the increment counter, there is a one method called setState, and setState method accepts one callback, which is or one method which is anonymous method. And in that method, yes, in that method we have written counter plus plus. And this counter is a counter variable that we have initialized and declared at the line number 32, and which is the type of an integer. So here a counter is a integer private variable that we have initialized with the 0. So whenever we run the application from the scratch, it will start with the 0. When we click on the plus button, it will create or it will call this method called increment counter. In increment counter, the counter is being incremented by the value 1, because the counter plus plus means counter is equal to counter plus 1, and the setState method will be called. Now this setState method actually trigger the build method to rerun. So for example, if we run this code from the scratch, so what will happen? The initial value of the counter is 0, and then we will, if we at that particular point of time, if the build method will run, so what will happen? The build method will create a scaffold, it will create the app bar, it will create the center widget. Can you just scroll a bit? Yes. And then it will create the column. Here it will write that, hey, you have pushed the button. And then the dollar counter. So the dollar counter will print the value of the counter. So right now the value of the counter is 0, because we are just starting, we are just running the application. So the value will be the 0. Now if I press the plus button one more time, it will call this increment method. So, and then can we just restart this app? so that we can tell everyone that how exactly it works.
Yeah.
Okay, so right now the current value is the 0, and if we click on the plus button, it will actually call the method increment counter. Here it will call the state, and in the state, it will update the counter. So counter value is the 1. After the counter value has been updated, it will again call the build method. And now build method will again rerun scaffold, app bar, center, column, text. Everything will be get redrawn on the screen. And now the value of the text is 1. So that's why we can see the 1 over there. If we remove the state from this method, can you just comment those lines? Yes, just save it. And now just hot reload it and just click on plus. Oh, okay. Now if we click on plus, see, we can't see anything. The reason is, even the counter is getting plus plus, but the build method is not getting built. So in the stateful widget, if you change the value of any state, you must have to rebuild the widget, right? Then only you will be able to see the changes that has been happened in the particular state. Otherwise, it won't reflect the changes at all. To trigger the build method, what you need to do, you just need to simply call set state. Also, you don't need to wrap this counter plus plus inside the set state. We can actually call the set state after this the counter plus plus. Can I just write the set state after the counter? Yes. Yes. Now save it and just hot reload it. Okay. You are going to hot restart. No problem. Okay. Now just click on the plus button. So the state is simply just re-triggering the build method. That's it. Now you might have question that now this build method is running again and again, and then all the widget are being created again and again. So how it has been optimized? So here comes the answer of the question being asked by the Dhruva, that how exactly this widget tree, the element tree, and this the object tree has been used, or maybe has been utilized here to make this thing in optimized manner. So here what happens? So the whole scaffold, app bar, center, column, everything has been created with the two trees. One is the widget tree, second is the element tree. So here, as we can see, there is a widget tree that has been shown in the screen: my app, material app, my homepage, scaffold, center. And then there will be an element tree. So that element tree you won't be able to see it here, but which is be almost like a similar kind of tree. And the third is kind of object tree, which has been used to store the state value. So what happens when we click on the plus button and the state method will called? The state method again triggered the build method. Now internally the Flutter will check that, hey, what happening here? So in the build method, the scaffold widget is again been rebuilded. So whenever this build method will get triggered, it will first again call the widget tree, and widget tree will check with the element tree whether both the widgets are same or not. So earlier, when the value of the counter was 0, and now the value of the counter is 3, for example. So at the same time, the scaffold is same, so it will not rebuild the scaffold. Okay. And then it will again check for the app bar. The value of the app bar is again same, so it won't rebuild the app bar. Same goes with text, center, column, the first text. Now in the next text where the counter variable is written, so what will happen in the counter variable? Again, the widget are the same, right? Line number 56. Yes. So in the line number 56, again, the older widget tree and element tree and the current widget tree and element tree are same. Now both have the same text widget, but again, here the change is the value, the object value, because earlier the value of the counter was 0. Now after pressing like the plus button 3 times, it is the value of the 3. So now the object tree comes into the picture. Now it will again compare that, hey, even though both the things are same, but the object is different. So the Flutter internally will remove that widget and create a new widget with the new value. The new value is the 3. Now this the object tree is been created using the internal memory, or sorry, the member state variable, which has been we have initialized, which is here in case we have the counter variable. So here the object tree manage the value of the different object. In our case, this is the counter object. So the as the counter value has been updated, it will be now in the checking, and then it will update the widget this way. So that's why this Flutter itself is more optimized that you don't need to worry about it. So whatever the way you have written the code, there are very less chances that your app is not optimized. Okay, awesome. So this is the whole and soul of the whole counter application. Vivek, over to you.
Yeah, let me bring my friend on board if he is available. Okay. Till then, we have one more question, Dhrumil, if you are available.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah. So the question is from Kunal Pitle, and he's asking if I want to use animation in it, which is the best for Flutter.
So I mean, I just want to know that what exactly Kunal is referring here. So what kind of animation that he's there are like a couple of different types of animation. You want to do like screen animation, transition animation, like small interaction animation, or what are the different animation you want to use? Based on that, I can help you to suggest something. If you just simply want to animate some of the value of the data, there are like animated container available, animated widgets which are easily available in the Flutter framework. You can directly use that. For example, if you want to just animate the counter value, you can directly use the ready-made animated widget. If you want to navigate from one screen to another using the navigation, there are like transition animations are also available. So yeah, you can use a different kind of animation with the different kind of purpose. Yeah. So
Yeah. So I just had a word with Piyush, and he is out for brunch. He might take 15 minutes. So till then, I have one more question about this great counter example. Dhrumil, if I want to, create one more floating action button for the decrement one, so how can I do that?
okay. So what you can do is you can just wrap. So we can add the multiple widgets inside the column and the row. If we want to put it like into the vertical manner, we will use the column the way it has been used in the body. And if
But
you
I
want to
want
put it
that
like
in
into
vertical row.
horizontal, then what we'll do, we will wrap it with the row. So if you just click on that bulb icon on the left
Yeah.
hand side, you can see the bulb icon. Yes, and there is a one option called wrap with the row. Just simply click it, and now copy the floating action button code and paste it just above or below wherever you want to put, and just change the icon to add to subtract and decrement. Yes, I hope the icon is available. It's not available.
No,
Subtract, minus. Yeah, it will be minus.
might be. Let's try it out.
Yeah, let's just try that out. Okay,
Okay.
that's okay. -1, and let's just save it and hot reload it.
Okay, it just
So
took away everything on the left side.
yeah, the reason for why it has been shifted to the left side, because we are using the row, and by default row takes each and every places, like so it just stretch out to whatever the space that we have throughout the screen. So what we
Yeah.
can do is, yeah, so as we can see, there is a main axis alignment, which is the max. So it just stretched out. What we'll do is we just tell the row, hey row, please do not get stretched out, or even though you have stretch out, we will put everything on the right hand side. So for that, our main x for the row is like horizontal x, right, which start from the left and which go to the right. So now we'll tell the row, hey row, whatever your alignment is, rather than making it start, just make it from the end. So we'll tell them row, the your main axis alignment it should be main axis alignment. There is a constant dot end, and we'll save it. And here we go. We got it. Now, if you want to put some space between this plus and minus, we'll simply add like the size box in between that, which is like size box, and we'll put like the width inside the size box, and we'll tell that, hey, I need a 10 pixel or maybe 10 points, and just set, and down we have.
We got that.
Now, yeah, and there are one more widget which has been less famous, which is like the spacer widget. So the spacer widget is actually used to give whatever amount of space is available. It will just stretch out, and it will make the surrounding widgets to the extent or to the end of the space. So if you put the spacer, you can see the biggest space in between, and then the other widgets been spread out. So this is the another widget which is very less known widget according to me.
Okay. So now if I click on this button, it should decrement it.
As of now,
incrementing.
Yeah, but it will increment. So we need to change the code of it. So what we'll do, we will write the another method, which is called Decrement Counter.
Okay.
So let's just copy the code of it.
Flutter.
Let's just copy the code of it and change the name of the method. Decrement Counter. And we'll change the code as well with the counter minus minus.
Yes.
Also we will change the way we are calling the method. If you can just scroll down a bit. So right now what is happening here, we are actually passing the reference of the function. We are not calling the main function here.
Right.
We are just passing the reference. So what we'll do to exactly call the method here, rather than passing the reference of the method, we will simply delete this thing. We'll write the anonymous method, which is like square bracket and the curly bracket, and inside that we will. Okay, finally you got it. Awesome.
Actually, it was just recommended by Trending Codes Hasnan in the chat.
Yeah, thank you, Hasnan. So here we can simply call this method. So this is the another way of calling the methods. Also, if we are calling like only one line of code in the method, we can use the fat arrow style, where we don't have to use this. We just simply, yes, this is called the fat arrow, and then we'll simply call this method. And if we run this,
let me restart the whole app.
Sure. And now if we do like plus minus,
okay.
Yes, and
perfect. Now it is working.
Yep, that's how we do. I hope everyone enjoys this and everyone might have learned this. If you guys have any question, feel free to reach out to us, me, Vivek, or anyone.
Yeah. So guys, this was our the basics of the great counter application. Which I say it great because we can cover a lot of things into it. So how the app works, how the screens are rendered, how widgets are rendered, and all those things. So, and thank you, Dhrumil Shah, the Flutter GDE from Ahmedabad, India, for coming on this ProCode channel and letting us know what are the basics of the Flutter widgets and how the Flutter works. So thank you for that. I will try to bring some more people on this channel tomorrow, day after tomorrow, and if you guys got any query in between of these 30 days of Flutter, just ping me or Dhrumil or anyone else on the Twitter or LinkedIn, and we will try to cover that question on this YouTube channel, or we can also help you out on the same channel, on the Twitter or LinkedIn.
Yes, thank you so much, everyone, and thank you so much, Vivek, for for this opportunity to reach out to the people using your channel. Yeah, so thank you so much, everyone. Keep fluttering. Bye.
Keep fluttering. Bye bye.